Hello, BookTube, it's Monty, and I'm back again today to do my January library haul. Disclaimers, the heater's on in the background again. I'm not trying to freeze to death. I understand that it fucks with the audio, but like there's literally, like, we're just gonna have to make do, you guys. Secondly, I'm filming this on January 2nd, and so there are titles that are coming out this month that I'm going to show you that I have on hold at the library. Hopefully they come in time for me to read them in January. But I wanted to get those out of the way first. So, Followers by Megan Abbott, I believe, comes out this month. That is like a social media type adult novel. I won't have links to the Goodreads pages down below, but all of the books that I've mentioned will be down there. And again, you will have seen the cover on the screen, so I think that you'll be able to have all the information that you need to find these titles on Goodreads. I have like at least 34 physical things with me. Not even, no I don't, I just returned some things. I have like roughly 30 physical books, and then again what I'm going through on my library, so that means that you're going to see pictures of. So just for the sake of making everyone's life easier, I'm going to try and get through these as quick as possible. Then I also have One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. This is the sequel to One of Us Is Lying, which was her debut novel a couple years back. I was not a fan of One of Us Is Lying, and I was not a fan of her follow-up novel, Two Can Keep a Secret. I have a link to that review up in the cards. But I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out hope that Karen M. McManus is going to turn it around, that she will have improved by some miracle, and that I will enjoy One of Us Is Next, because her premises sound interesting and I want to like her books, but her execution leaves a lot to be desired. Then I have Race to the Sun, which is a novel by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is her first middle grade, I believe. This is under the Rick Riordan Presents banner, so it's going to be mythology, there's going to be some children, it's going to be great. So far, I have not been disappointed by anything I've read under the Rick Riordan Presents banner, and so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this is the case as well. And then I think the last one on here, I have two more. So I have The Swede by, I think his name is Robert Cargill. This is a spy espionage-esque like men's adventure novel, but the protagonist is meant to be a bisexual character, and I think it came out. It was originally written in Swedish. I think under the Swedish title, it's like My Name is N, and then here in the States, it's published as The Swede. But the author wrote an article for The Guardian talking about how readers were surprised that the character was a bisexual character, and so I'm hoping that means that it's going to be kind of prominent in the novel. I really wanted in 2020 to get into like the men's action adventure genre, because I think that a lot of the premises sound interesting, but I also am not trying to get invested in like a 15 long book thing that started in the 80s. And The Swede so far only has 2 novels, and the man is bisexual, so I figured that was a good place to start to see if I actually like the genre, or if I just like the movie versions. And then the last one is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. Everyone's been talking about this one. I'm interested to see how I like it, and so I figured that I would put it on hold. It's the library, it's free, I lose nothing by checking it out. With that out of the way, I have a fuck ton of physical titles over here to my right, and I'm going to hold them up. I'm going to get through these. We're going to start with graphic novels and then move our way through everything else. First up, I have Critical Role's Vox Machina Origin. This is the, assuming, first volume. I don't know if this is their entire campaign or it's been broken up into multiple parts. Literally the only reason I picked this up is I know that Melanie is a huge fan of Critical Role, and I did try to go back and watch the early, like, they uploaded all of the streams to YouTube, and so I was trying to go back and watch them, and they were kind of entertaining, but I'm sorry, it wasn't, my attention span just is not there for it, and so I figured when I saw this that this would be a great way to consume the campaign and to know what was going on in a medium that I know that I enjoy. Then I picked up Nightwing Volume 1, Traps and Trapezes. I picked this up, I think, last year around this same time. Nightwing is just a character that I want to read, and so I'm going to keep picking up his titles until I read them. Like, that's just, it is what it is. Then I have Gabby Dunn's Bury the Lead. I think that Chelsea at Chelsea Darling Reads read this one last year and was not a fan of some of the things. I literally just picked it up because it was available. I have no expectations. Then I have Thor, the Goddess of Thunder, Volume 1. This is the first in the Lady Thor run of the comic. The only reason I picked this up is I know who the Lady Thor is, and that's a character that I feel was done dirty by the MCU until recently. But I've always been interested, and the run's been over for a really long time now, so there's no excuse for me not to pick this up. Then I have Jane by Eileen Brosh McKenna, which I actually read in the month of December, and I don't know why I didn't return it when I was returning things earlier today. But this is a Jane Eyre retelling in graphic novel form. I didn't realize it was a Jane Eyre retelling when I picked it up, and then I was reading it, and I was like, I'm literally... Because before I picked this up, the last book I had read was Brightly Burning by Alexa Dunn, which is also a Jane Eyre retelling. And so I read two of them back to back, and I was able to kind of compare the two, and I was just... what I really walked away after reading this was I don't like Jane Eyre. I don't think that it's a story that I like. This one kept the creepy age difference, but it also made no attempts to establish a romantic connection between the two characters. And so that kind of bothered me. So I don't think I'm ever going to actually go back to read the original text. But I think that this was a cute adaptation, and the art was nice. And the last graphic novel that I still have with me, I know nothing about other than I think it's really pretty, and it is Skip by Molly Mendoza. I know literally nothing about it. I tried to read the back blurb, but as I was reading the back blurb, the announcement was like, bitch, we're closing the library. And I was like, well, let me just take it, because again, I lose nothing. Before today, I also had the first two volumes of Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider by Shauna Maguire checked out. I don't think that was a great introduction to Shauna Maguire's writing, because I was not a fan. But I also just felt that they were pretty lackluster stories. So those are all the graphic novels that I have. I have a handful of adult titles, so I'm going to go to those next. Yeah, let's just do this. Let's keep this train rolling. First, I have 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. I know this kind of got some mixed reviews last year. Some people who read the Hating Game were not as big a fan of this one. I literally don't know what this one was about, other than it's an adult romance title. Then I have The Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie. This is the first novel in the Miss Marple titles that Christie wrote. I heard that Marple is the better place to start, that there's fewer of them at least. And Agatha Christie started writing these in a point in her career where her writing wasn't like brand spanking new. But I don't know what this one is about, because again, it's a murder mystery, so I'm kind of going in blind. Then I have The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. The only reason I'm picking this up is when this got adapted into a stage play, I was really interested just based on the play. I literally don't know anything that happens in this, but the promotion for that sounded interesting. And so now here I am, like 3 million years later, we're gonna see what this is about. Then I have Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. This is about Edward VIII, I believe. And seeing as I know nothing about Edward VIII, I figured that this is a nice place to start. I haven't heard the same criticisms about Hilary Mantel as I have about Philippa Gregory in terms of historical accuracy, and that's why I picked up this title and not one of Philippa's, because I would like some kind of truth to be told. Yeah, so then we're gonna go to the YA titles, and I don't know why I checked out Ruin and Rising or Stygian Storm, but I have both of them. And I think in 2019 I said that, I think I even tweeted it. If I feel like it, I might go back and try to find it. I'll insert the clip here. But I was like, I'm never going to finish the series. I think this is just what I'm going to watch on Netflix and not worry about reading. But there's a part of me that feels like I am going to really appreciate Mal. And I kind of want to find out if I do. Because I know everyone hates him. But I'm like, do I? And I want to know before I watch the show. That's literally my only motivation. Then I have As Many Nows as I Can Get by Shoshana Youngdahl. I only picked this up because I know that Chelsea read it during one of the Contemporary-a-thon rounds and said it was unexpectedly hard-hitting. And so it's on the shelf, and I was like, why not grab it? Maybe I want to cry or something. Next, I have Lovely War by Julie Berry. I'm kind of curious about my thoughts. Next, I have another series I said I was never going to finish, and that is the Illuminae Files. This is the third book in that one. I did not like Jemina. I felt that Jemina took what we read in Illuminae, repurposed the plot, and called it a new book. And so I kind of just don't care to figure out what happens. But it was on the shelf, and I was in the section, so I was like, why not? Next is Famous in a Small Town by Emma Mills. I've heard a lot of good things about this one. It seems like it's kind of up my alley. So I figured of all the Emma Mills to start with, this might be the one for me. Next, I have The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg, which I think is like in a Disneyland-esque situation with an android. I think there's like a non-human protagonist, but I could be wrong on that one. Next is a book that Heather hated, and I don't think that I'm gonna like it, but I'm curious to see just what I think. Heather didn't finish this one, but I'm curious. I might not, again, like this is just a library haul. I probably won't even get to half of these things, but it is Unpregnant by Jenny Hendricks and Ted Kaplan. I think this is meant to deal with abortion, but from what Heather was saying in the reading vlog where she talked about like the first 10 pages, I feel like we need to talk about how this like deals with sexual assault. I hope that comes up. I don't know if it does. I haven't touched it yet, but I would hope so from what I heard Heather say about the book. Next, I have He Forgot to Say Goodbye by Benjamin Alire Sayans. I'm sorry. I haven't heard anybody talk about this one. I've only ever heard people talk about this author's other work, so Dante and Aristotle, and then the follow-up to that one. But I haven't heard anyone talk about this one, and this one sounded really interesting, so I picked this one up. Cress by Marissa Meyer. This is the third book in the Lunar Chronicles. I'm like 12 years late to this. This is like my 15th time trying to read this book. Maybe this time it'll happen. Maybe this time will be the time that I finish it. I don't know, but never say never. Next is The Great American Whatever by Tim Federal. This is a book I also checked out last year. I think I also checked it out in January, and it's just, I only checked it out because it's meant to have a queer gay protagonist, and so I'm kind of like, why not? Maybe that's what I want to read in January. I don't know. Then we have Goodbye Days, a novel by Jeff Zettner. I only checked this one out because I've heard really good things of this author's other books. And so this one is meant to deal with like I think the main character in this one was texting while driving, and all of the other people in the car died. And so he has to live with that. And because I've heard this author has handled heavy topics in other books really well, I'm hoping this one will be good, even if the premise isn't something that initially jumped out at me. Okay, we are entering the home stretch. The next titles are 2 books in a series, and they are Nevermoor, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, and Wundersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow. Everybody on BookTube who reads middle grade fantasy books says that these are it. Like, this is the hottest ticket in middle grade fantasy. And so since they were both available, I checked them both out. I think the third book in the series comes out in March. I am not going to say this is meant to be like the next Harry Potter, but I do know that it's like a magical school and small children. That's all I understand. Then I have the next 2 in the Magnus Chase, so The Hammer of Thor and The Ship of the Dead. I liked Magnus Chase as a protagonist. I think that it's very strange that these books are still in the middle grade section when our protagonist is 16 years old. I understand that children who are younger read over their age, but I feel like I would really appreciate these in the YA section. I would appreciate Mr. Riordan to mature his writing style a little bit so they could be shelved over there. But that's just me personally. I know that the Harry Potter books still get shelved in the middle grade section. I'm not saying that it's in terms of like, you can't have heavy topics in middle grade, but there was just, I think that the first book in this series the sort of summer felt a little stilted because we're still reading at a middle grade situation. But that's just me personally. Obviously, Mr. Riordan don't need to take advice from me because this man got all the money he needs. Then I have the first book in the Artemis Fowl series, so Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. I remember reading The Opal Deception a lot as a children. As a kid, The Opal Deception was the only one that I owned. I don't think I ever actually read the first book in the series, and so I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. And then I have two more. So I have Tara Mafi's Furthermore, which I know nothing about other than it's like the prettiest cover in the universe. I haven't read anything by Tahara Mafi, but I haven't heard anything bad about Furthermore, the same way I have about other works that she's produced, and so I figured this might be a good place to start. And then the next title I'm about to show is one that I read as a kid, and I really loved it, and I never really continued on with the series, and now I think that it's complete, so I'm very excited. And that is Silverfin, a James Bond adventure. Much like The Swede is a book that I picked up because I wanted to get into men's action adventure. This is it's a young James Bond, and he's at Eton in this, and I really enjoyed this as a kid, so I'm excited to get back into it and see if I still like it. The next two titles I don't have. I checked out two audiobooks of things I've already showed you, so 1 second. So the next two are just audiobook versions of Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, just in case I want to listen instead of reading this. So I picked this up actually because I happened to be at the library just trying to kill some time, and this was on the shelf, so I grabbed it even though I was already on the hold queue for the audiobook. And then I also picked up the audiobook for Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. I tried listening to it. I didn't really like the narrator, so I don't think I'm actually going to use the audiobook for this one, but I'm going to keep it just in case I ever decide that it's something I want to utilize. I don't think it'll be something I'll use for anything long term, but for I need to clean the kitchen for 30 minutes, I might be that kind of a thing. So those are my two audiobooks, but obviously I own this physically. What I thought would be a fun addition to this would be, because I use a reading spreadsheet to track all of my reading, I thought it might be a fun little addition every month in every library haul that I do to just say how much money the library has saved me so far this year, just to keep a running tab. In 2019, I didn't add books to the spreadsheet that I hadn't finished. And as you can see, I checked out all of these things. I don't have numbers for the 5 things I haven't received yet. So I haven't added things that are still on hold that I'm waiting to get. But everything that I have checked out currently is listed. For books, I just use whatever is listed on the thing, because that's what I would have paid at Barnes & Noble, so I just use the list price for that. For the audiobooks, I just go by whatever Audible is going for. I figure that's the usual rate. I'm not going to go on barnesandnoble.com to see what they're charging for it. And obviously, I use the non-discounted price because I feel like that's just the base. Just like this is $27, but it might be, slightly cheaper on sale somewhere. But anyway, all of that aside, so far this year, in the year of our Lord 2020, I have saved $743.45. That's just the first month of the year. I think in all of 2019 of books I read, that number was obviously different. So I'm excited to see how much I save overall, and then at the end of the month in my January wrap-up, I will be sure to tell you the number of books I read, the number, how much money I saved just on those. So far I haven't finished anything over here except for Jane, but I read that in December, so I'm not counting it. So yeah, thanks for watching this. I know this is going to be a really long video. Like I said, all of the titles I've mentioned today are going to be down in the description below, so you can copy and paste those into Goodreads. If you're down there in the description, links to my Twitter, Goodreads are also down there in case you want to be friends on those platforms. But Book Twitter, my Goodreads, those are great places. If you liked what you saw here and you want to see more of these, you can hit the subscribe button. You can click the like. If you didn't like it, feel free to thumbs down the video. I would hope you'd leave a comment if you didn't like what you saw, but you know, I can't force you to do things you don't want to do. In any event, I'll see you guys back here on Monday with my December wrap up. But until then, and until next time, bye.